A police dashcam flickers to life, catching the tail end of a high-speed chase on a rural road in upstate New York. The car crashes into a tree. Officers rush forward. The driver, a middle-aged woman, is bloodied, shaking. In the back seat, a worn teddy bear, a child's sweater, but no child. When questioned, the woman repeats the same phrase over and over, voice trembling, eyes hollow. I left her in the woods. I had to. Cut to black. Madeline Shaw had a routine. Morning coffee at 6:45, from the same chipped red mug with the words, "World's Okayest Mom" printed in faded block letters. She hated the mug, but she used it anyway. Habit had a way of strangling grief until it looked like normalcy. Her house in Delmont, New York, sat at the edge of a dense forest, just far enough from the town center to feel detached, which was exactly what she wanted. It was quiet here. Trees don't ask questions. Every day, Madeline worked remotely as a data entry contractor. She avoided people, didn't answer calls unless it was from her mother, which she dreaded but tolerated, and kept her blinds half closed even in daylight. For anyone else, this would be isolation. For Madeline, it was safety. That morning in late October, something was off. She noticed it when she walked into the kitchen and found the red mug already sitting on the counter. Washed, dry, and full of cold coffee. She froze. She hadn't made coffee yet. A flicker of panic danced across her chest, but she told herself what she always did. You forgot. You're forgetful. It happens. She dumped the coffee, washed the mug again, made a fresh batch, and sat at the window to drink it, staring into the trees. The woods were her church now. Silent. Forgiving. But today, they felt. Watching. She reached for her laptop, opened her inbox, and tried to get lost in numbers. But her eyes kept drifting to the corner of the kitchen, to the closet door. It was ajar. Just barely. Like someone had been there. No. 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 Madeline stood slowly, walked to the door, and yanked it open. Brooms. A mop. Dustpans. Nothing else. Except a single child's sneaker. Caked in dried mud. Tiny. Pink with sparkles. Size 9 toddler. Madeline's breath caught in her throat. Her fingers began to tremble. She picked up the shoe like it was evidence from a crime scene. Her vision swam. Something inside her, something ancient and primal, started screaming. She ran to her phone and called 911. The dispatcher's voice was calm. What's your emergency? Madeline didn't know what to say. The words clotted in her mouth. Then she whispered. She's back. Silence on the other end. Who's back, ma'am? Madeline dropped the phone. From upstairs, a child's laugh echoed. Soft. Delicate. Familiar. She hadn't heard that sound in 3 years. Not since the day her daughter disappeared. Madeline stood paralyzed in the middle of the kitchen, every muscle in her body locked with dread. The laugh had been unmistakable. Light and sing-song, like wind chimes made of bone. It wasn't imagination. It wasn't a memory. It was real. Her legs moved before her mind caught up. She climbed the stairs slowly, one hand on the rail, the other clutching the pink sneaker like a relic. Each step felt like a funeral bell. The hallway upstairs was dim, lined with photos she couldn't bring herself to take down, family moments frozen in frames, birthday candles, beach days, scraped knees and sunburns. And in almost all of them, a little girl with soft brown curls and big, trusting eyes. Emma. Madeline pushed open the door to Emma's bedroom. The air was still. Dust motes drifted through a slant of afternoon light. The bed was perfectly made, an old habit Madeline had never broken, even after the case went cold. Stuffed animals were arranged like an audience at a trial. Nothing out of place. No footprints, no movement. Nothing. Except a green sweater, draped neatly over the chair. Madeline stumbled back. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. She knew that sweater. It was the one Emma had been wearing the day she vanished. They'd searched the woods for weeks. Volunteers. Dogs. Drones. Not a trace. And now it sat here like it had never left. Her fingers brushed the fabric. Soft. Warm. Still warm. Madeline clutched the sweater to her chest and sank to her knees, the dam inside her cracking for the first time in years. She sobbed, not because she believed Emma had returned, but because for a moment, she felt something that was far worse than grief. Hope. And hope, she knew, could kill you. She stayed like that for minutes, maybe hours, until a knock jolted her back to reality. The front door. Sharp. Repetitive. Madeline wiped her face, stood, and staggered downstairs, sweater still clutched in one hand. At the door stood a woman, early 40s. crisp pantsuit, bad haircut, eyes that had seen too much. Mrs. Shaw? Yes. I'm Detective Lila Graves. Delmont PD. We got a call from this address. Something about a child in your house? Madeline blinked. I thought I heard something. But it's not. It's probably nothing. Graves' eyes flicked to the sweater, then back to Madeline's face. Mind if I come in? Madeline hesitated, then stepped aside. Graves walked in, scanning the room like a seasoned predator. Have you been experiencing anything unusual lately, Mrs. Shaw? Strange sights, sounds, memory lapses. Madeline tensed. Why? Because last week, Graves said, pulling out her phone and flipping through photos, we found a campsite in the woods just 2 miles from here. Someone had been living there for months. She showed Madeline the screen. Charred wood, torn blankets, scattered toys. And it. Madeline's knees buckled. In the photo, a drawing. Crude, scribbled in crayon. A house, trees, and a figure in a green sweater. Underneath, in shaky handwriting. Mommy is pretending I'm gone. Madeline stared at the photo on Detective Graves' phone. Her breath caught in her throat. The crayon drawing was simple, almost innocent, except for the way it burned through her. The green sweater. The trees. The word pretending. I don't understand, she whispered. What are you saying? Graves studied her for a moment. We're not saying anything yet. Could have been a vagrant. Someone playing a cruel joke. But the handwriting, she paused, were running comparisons against Emma's school assignments. Just to be sure. Madeline's heart pounded so loud it drowned out everything else. That drawing, it doesn't make sense. No one knew about the sweater except me and the original investigators. And now, Graves said gently, it's in your hands. The sweater clung to Madeline like guilt. She didn't remember finding it. Didn't remember bringing it downstairs. But there it was. Real. Tangible. Graves stepped forward, her voice softening. Look, I don't want to frighten you. But if there's something you're remembering, anything, even fragments, now's the time. Madeline wanted to scream. There were no memories. Just blank space. A blackout that stretched from the afternoon Emma disappeared until the moment the police arrived hours later to find her wandering along the forest edge, dazed and shaking, muttering about a shadow in the trees. No blood. No signs of struggle. No Emma. Just her. I don't remember, she said, barely audible. Graves gave a slow nod. I'll be in touch if the lab finds anything. As the detective left, Madeline locked the door and leaned against it, her legs trembling. She needed to breathe, to think. But her mind felt like fog, thick, suffocating, and disorienting. She walked into the bathroom and turned on the faucet, splashing cold water on her face. She looked up to meet her reflection. Except, there wasn't one. Madeline froze. The mirror showed the bathroom, the towel rack, the door behind her, but not her. Her body went numb. She blinked, rubbed her eyes. Still nothing. Her hands gripped the sink. Her pulse throbbed in her ears. The mirror suddenly flickered, like a static glitch on a screen. And then, for a brief second, there was a reflection. But it wasn't her. It was Emma, eyes wide, face pale. And behind her, something tall, indistinct, and black as oil standing in the doorway. Madeline screamed and stumbled back. When she looked again, the mirror was normal. Her face stared back at her, gaunt and pale. She backed out of the bathroom and closed the door, pressing her palms to her temples. I'm losing my mind, she whispered. And then her phone rang. Unknown number. She picked it up with shaking fingers. A child's voice whispered through the static. You forgot what you did. But I didn't. Click. The line went dead. Madeline dropped the phone. From the woods beyond the kitchen window, something moved. A shape. Watching. And in the faintest whisper, carried by the wind. Mommy. Madeline didn't sleep that night. She sat curled on the couch, the green sweater folded in her lap like a flag draped over a casket. Every sound outside made her flinch, the groan of tree limbs in the wind, the skittering of raccoons near the trash bins, the occasional pop of settling wood inside the house. But there was something else too. A pressure. An awareness. Like the house was holding its breath with her. She thought about calling Graves. Telling her everything. The mirror. The voice. The impossible phone call. But she knew how that would sound. And deep down, a small part of her, the part that feared the truth more than madness, didn't want the answers. At 3:17 a.m., the house grew cold. Not just chilly, cold. A hollow, wet cold, like a crawl space no one had entered in decades. Madeline stood, her breath visible in the air. And then she heard it again. Footsteps. Soft. Barefoot. Upstairs. She gripped the banister and moved like a sleepwalker, every stair creaking under her weight. At the top, she saw it, Emma's bedroom door slowly closing on its own. Click. Madeline's hand hovered near the doorknob. She pressed her ear to the wood. Nothing. She opened it. The room was dark. Moonlight from the window cast pale stripes across the floor. Everything looked untouched until her eyes adjusted. The stuffed animals were all facing the wall. The bed had been turned down. And on the pillow, something waited for her. A Polaroid. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. It was a photo of her. Madeline, asleep on the couch downstairs. Taken just hours ago. But in the background, near the kitchen, stood a small, blurred figure in a green sweater. Her knees gave out. She crawled to the window, threw it open, and hurled the photo into the darkness. Then, panting, she looked down at the backyard. That's when she saw it. Someone had carved a perfect circle into the earth, maybe 6 feet wide. Stones placed around the edge. In the center, a child's backpack. Emma's. Purple, with faded unicorns. And beside it, a shallow hole. A grave. Half dug. Madeline stumbled back, hands to her mouth. She didn't dig that. She didn't. She would remember. Wouldn't she? Unless. Her phone buzzed again. She looked. One new message. Unknown sender. Finish what you started. She dropped the phone. Something was unraveling inside her. Memories that felt more like sensations. Heat. Screaming. Trees blurring past. The feeling of tiny fingers slipping from her grasp. She ran to the garage, threw open the storage bins. Inside, she found what she wasn't looking for. Emma's drawings. Dozens of them. Crayon scribbles on printer paper. Trees. That same figure in the green sweater. But the faces were changing, warping. And always, always, she was in them. And in the last one, the image that made her collapse to her knees. A child in a grave. Madeline standing over her. Smiling. Madeline barely remembered getting in the car. The sky was bleeding orange with dawn when her tires crunched over the frosted leaves at the edge of Delmont Forest. She didn't bring a coat. Didn't bring her phone. Just the red mug, filled with scalding black coffee she hadn't touched. And Emma's green sweater, folded carefully on the passenger seat like a passenger itself. The drawings haunted her. The hole in the backyard. That message. Finish what you started. The phrase echoed in her skull, twisting, warping. She couldn't stay in that house any longer. She had to go back to where it happened. The place she never allowed herself to revisit. The place the search party scoured for weeks, only to find nothing. The place that swallowed her child and never gave her back. The woods. The deeper she drove into the forest roads, the more the trees seemed to lean in, as if listening, judging, whispering. She parked at mile marker 32, where the paved road gave way to gravel, then to dirt. The trail was faint, overgrown with pine needles and roots. But her feet knew the way, even if her mind didn't. As she walked, the forest changed. It was subtle at first. The usual sounds, birdsong, rustling leaves, began to fade. The air grew heavy, the silence dense and pressing, like a vacuum. Every tree looked the same. Every path led in circles. Time stretched. Her hands shook. And then she saw it. A clearing. Dead center, the same stone circle from her yard. But older. Overgrown. Permanent. Madeline stepped inside. The moment she did, the air dropped 10 degrees. Her breath fogged. The woods outside the circle blurred slightly, like an old photograph out of focus. And then the static. It started in her ears, soft and crackling, like a detuned radio. Her vision flickered. She clutched her head. And then came the voices. Childlike. Garbled. Overlapping. Mommy, I'm cold. You said you'd never leave. You forgot me. Madeline dropped to her knees, shaking. No, I didn't. The sweater slipped from her hands. It landed on the ground, and instantly, the static stopped. Silence. And then, from the trees, footsteps. Slow. Crunching. Purposeful. Madeline looked up. Emma stood at the edge of the clearing. Same green sweater. Same curls. But her face. Her face was wrong. Not aged. Not hurt. Just empty. As if someone had drawn a child from memory but forgot the soul. Emma. Madeline whispered. The girl didn't respond. She stepped forward, barefoot, mud up to her ankles. Madeline reached out a trembling hand. Baby, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Emma blinked. Her voice came out low, distorted. You promised you wouldn't forget. Madeline sobbed. I didn't forget. I tried to remember, please. Emma took another step forward. You buried the wrong memory. Madeline's breath hitched. What does that mean? From behind Emma, other figures began to emerge. Children, blurred faces, silent, watching. And in the center of them, tall and featureless, stood a shape made of shadow. It pointed at her. Dig. Madeline's hands hit the earth without thinking. She clawed at the frozen dirt with fingers stiff and raw, tearing at roots, breaking nails, digging like a woman unhinged, like someone trying to exhume the truth buried in her own brain. The children in the woods watched silently, their eyes glowing dimly like embers in the dark. Emma stood still at the edge of the circle, her expression unreadable, more mannequin than child. In the shadow, that towering, featureless thing loomed behind them all, a judge in black robes. Madeline didn't know how long she dug. Minutes, hours, lifetimes. Her breath came in sharp gasps. Her knees bled. The world shrank to the size of that shallow pit. Then her hand struck something. Soft. Fabric. She froze. With trembling fingers, she uncovered a small bundle wrapped in a blanket old, sun-bleached. She pulled it free and peeled it open. Inside was a doll. Emma's doll. Rosie. One button eye missing. A crude stitch across its chest from a long-ago repair. Madeline stared, uncomprehending. Then the memories came. Not like a flood, like a collapse. It hadn't happened the way she remembered. Emma hadn't vanished in the woods during a walk. They had been in the car. A fight. Emma crying in the back seat. Madeline on the phone, distracted. Rain. Headlights. Then, the crash. A tree. Glass everywhere. Emma screaming. Trapped. Madeline had climbed out, dazed, bleeding. She opened the back door, or tried to. It was stuck. She pulled. Yanked. The rain came harder. Emma's voice turned to shrieks. And then, silence. She never told the police about the crash. She told them Emma wandered off. She told them she didn't remember. And maybe that had been true. For a while. Until now. No, she whispered. No, I didn't mean to. But she did. Panicked. In shock. She buried the doll, burned the car. Convinced herself of another story. That Emma had run away. That it was an accident. That if she couldn't remember it, maybe it didn't happen. But the forest remembered. The shadow stepped into the circle. The air pulsed with something ancient. Old as guilt. Hungry as silence. The doll disintegrated in her hands, turning to ash. Madeline looked up at the child she had loved more than anything, now standing inches from her. Emma's face flickered between forms. Young. Older. Ghostly. Then back to the blank slate it had become. I'm sorry, Madeline sobbed. I couldn't live with it. I thought if I forgot, it wouldn't be real. Emma tilted her head. But I remembered. And then, softly, she reached out and touched Madeline's face. The world shifted. The trees blurred. And in an instant, Madeline was standing inside her house again. Alone. Sweater gone. Dirt gone. Phone buzzing on the counter. The clock blinking 3:17 a.m. No evidence of the forest. Or Emma. Except one new voicemail. She pressed play. Emma's voice, quiet. Innocent. Devastating. Are you ready to tell them now, Mommy? The sun never rose that morning. Not fully. Gray light hung like smoke over the house, and everything felt slightly off. The clocks were frozen at 3:17. The radio only played static. Even the birds outside had gone still. Madeline sat at the kitchen table, the world's okayest mom, mug cold between her palms. She was no longer shaking. Not because the fear had passed, but because it had settled. She knew now. She remembered. And worse, she remembered that she had chosen to forget. She opened the voicemail again. Emma's voice echoed through the silence. Are you ready to tell them now, Mommy? Tears slid silently down her cheeks. Her eyes drifted to the backyard, where the shallow grave still yawned like an open wound. But there was no child inside it. There never had been. Only symbols. Objects. Lies. Because the truth, she now understood, had never been about where Emma's body was. It was about who Emma really was. And with a nauseating twist in her stomach, Madeline realized. That girl in the green sweater? Wasn't Emma. Not the Emma she'd known. Not the Emma she remembered raising. Her mind pulled at threads she hadn't dared touch before. Flashbacks. Flickers. Emma screaming in the car, not just frightened. Panicked. Begging. You're not my mom. Madeline had dismissed it as a tantrum. But now she saw the gaps in the memories. The inconsistencies. Emma's drawings where she had been the villain. The sudden onset of confusion after the crash. The way even her own mother, Emma's supposed grandmother, had said more than once, "It's like she doesn't belong to you." Madeline rose slowly and went to the attic. She hadn't opened the trunk in years. Inside, birth records, hospital bracelets, the photos from when Emma had been born. Except, the name on the certificate wasn't Emma. It was Amelia Grace Winters. Different last name, different birth date. Not her child, not hers. She staggered back, breath catching. Emma, Amelia, had never belonged to her. She had been taken. And Madeline, in the wake of some psychotic break or dissociative fugue after losing a baby of her own years earlier, had taken someone else's daughter and rewritten reality around the theft. Her mind had shielded her, cloaked her in delusion, until the cracks began to show, until the real memories started clawing their way back. She ran to her laptop and searched Amelia's name. A missing persons case. From Ohio. 7 years ago. The photo was identical. The same sweater. The same smile. Reported taken during a family road trip. The case had gone cold. No leads. No witnesses. Because Madeline had made sure of that. She fell to the floor, sobbing. Her mind flickered again. This time, not with Emma's voice, but her own, screaming in a motel bathroom, holding a child who didn't understand why she couldn't go home. And then, her phone rang. Detective Graves. She picked up. Her voice cracked. "I need to tell you everything." Graves didn't say anything at first. Then, calmly, "We know. We've been tracking the GPS on your car. There's someone here who wants to speak with you." A pause. Then a man's voice came through. Broken. Raw. Hopeful. "Amelia?" Madeline couldn't speak. Because for the first time in 7 years, she knew the truth. She wasn't a grieving mother. She was a kidnapper. And now, she would have to live with that. Alone. Forever.